Can we give it one more time for our heroes, please? Thank you so much for every single hero that came out to speak today, because we can't do it without you. Average people are average people. I don't want to say average people don't win wars, because of course we win wars, but when we have strong people with us, we're more successful. So thank you so much, because your opinions really matter. I'm only 5'2". Just when you thought I was done talking about heroes, it's time for me to introduce you to the people who have been most harmed by our government's complete and utter irresponsible behavior. A group of people that were either forced to get a vaccine that they did not want, or they did not give informed consent, which is illegal in Canada. Please welcome our vaccine-injured victims of Nova Scotia, most of which have been shut out from the medical community altogether, most of which have not gotten on the list of vaccine-injured for Canada, even though they all suffer from the side effects that are listed on the CDC website. This group of people here with us today only represents a tiny fraction of victims across Nova Scotia that wanted to be here today. Victims that were either too afraid to stand up and speak out, or couldn't be here because of the severity of their injuries from the vaccine. Without these people speaking out, nobody would be aware of what's really happening behind the scenes, and their cries would never be heard. Because of people like these people that are standing here now that you're about to hear from, more and more vaccine-injured victims are starting to speak out. Woo! We did have 5 vaccine-injured individuals scheduled to speak, and unfortunately, 3 of them were not well enough to come. One of which was rushed to emergency yesterday. And she's been admitted into hospital by a doctor who is saying he wants to get to the bottom of it. Finally. Woo! So I'm going to call up Fred Pye. I'm sure you've all heard his name by now. Fred Pye has become the face of the vaccine injured in Nova Scotia.
I never slept for a couple days, so I don't mind the bags under my eyes.
Talk closer to the mic.
Yeah. On May 25th, I was coerced to get the vaccine by Shoppers Drug Mart in North Sydney. I was after telling them no 4 or 5 times. So then one day I went in and she said, "Fred, you're going to get the vaccine." I said, I really don't want it. Did you get it? She said, "Yeah." I said, "Many others get it, you know?" She said, "Yes." I said, "What about any adverse reactions? Anything negative at all, Tanya?" She said, "No." So she said, "You have 2 kids at home to think about," which then made me feel like a bad dad. So I took the fucking vaccine. Within the 15-minute waiting period, my feet went numb. I thought, maybe it's the way I'm sitting. Pins and needles. But then it started moving up my legs. And then into my stomach. And then I started spinning. And then I knew something was wrong. I stopped breathing. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. It's all I could think about was my family. Because I thought for sure I was going to die. They asked me at first if I wanted paramedics. I said no. As soon as my lungs felt like they did a twist, yeah, I knew I needed it, right? So anyway, they came, They were checking for little red dots at first. So they knew something. They had to know something because they know what they're looking for. So with that, I felt a little better. There was pins and needles left in my head after about an hour. I was in the paramedics, in the ambulance. I said, I'm okay to go home. I had someone waiting in my truck, a worker. I didn't make it 2 full lengths down the road and it started happening again. So he jumped in, he drove home. 3 hours later, I come through very confused. I get home, my feet swell up, and those little red bumps started appearing everywhere. The next day I woke up, I felt that lethargic and sore, sick. It felt like I had like a radiation poisoning. My heart went into major AFib, I collapsed and I stopped breathing. I have a heart loop monitor in my chest to implant it. I was scared to death, so I started sleeping out at my fiance's house, getting the kids babysitters and whatnot. I woke up one night to her bawling with me not being able to breathe, not being able to move, paralyzed, my whole body, except for my right leg twitching like it's doing now. I was blacking out. I was to the point where I was literally blacking out, and that's all I can remember and see was her on the phone with the paramedics screaming, please come, hurry, he's gonna die. It's pretty traumatizing, right? Like, I couldn't sleep. I'm still not sleeping, 2, 3, 4 days a night, not sleeping. I ended up with full body paralysis 3 times, half body paralysis for 7 hours at a time, which beforehand I called the doctor, begged, left messages on the answer machine for him to see me, told him what was going on. They put me in on a cancellation appointment. That day I was driving my kids to school. My right arm started flapping out of nowhere. It just kept doing this. And then I went paralyzed on my whole left side. I immediately pulled the rig over. I called for help, got help. I was put in a wheelchair and carted up to the office, which was the day I had an appointment if there was a cancellation. The office is closed at 5 o'clock. The doctor was gone at 3 o'clock. He obviously had time to see me, right? So then I started thinking, they're ignoring me. What's going on here, right? 7 paramedics were called. After the 7th one and me waiting in outpatients for almost 16 hours total time, being taken by an ambulance now and being pushed in outpatients, right? I said, why is it taking so long? She said, there was a bunch of people that come in by ambulances. Well, I'm one of them. I'm one of them. Why am I sitting out here? You want to know why? Because I'm flagged. And because there's gag orders. Every doctor that looked at me in that hospital, once I told him that I thought it was vax related, he would turn around, leave. You know how a doctor's supposed to come and check the next day, tell you what's wrong, whatnot? I'd never see a doctor, I'd see a nurse. She'd tell me I'd have to leave. So I said, I need tests. Like, it's enough is enough. I'm like, what tests did you guys do to me? Blood work and an EKG. I said, well, I own an EKG, it's in my chest. Blood work I can get done home at my house, right? After 7 trips over there and doctors looking at me and saying, Freddie, what are you looking to get out of this? That was their first question to me. What's going on, guys? Right? So I walked out to the outpatients and I looked at everybody. I said, you might as well get up and leave because you ain't getting any help anyway. Security removed me that night. Public health has called me numerous times. I'm sorry about crunching the ball. It's a nervous thing. Public health called me, said, Freddie, our physician deemed you okay to get the 2nd vaccine. I said, is that right? I said, do you know what's going on? Do you know what I'm going through? She said, yeah, it's all right here in front of us. I said, can you list a few? She said, heart and major A fibrillation, obviously heart problems. She said, vertigo, memory loss. I wake up in the morning, I don't even know where I'm at, I'm that confused. It's getting that bad rapidly, right? She said, everything. I said, so what's it take to not be able to get these vaccines? Death? Death? It's the only thing left. The only thing. I said, lady, you're blowing my mind. I have to kind of get off the phone with you. She said, why don't you go to a different vaccine clinic, one that's bigger, has a bed, so when you pass out, you'll be in the bed. This is our public health system. Right? Everything's recorded. I can't wait till the day. I can't wait till the day. You know what she did before she hung up the phone? She laughed at me. 5 more texts I got from them. There's another girl wants to speak to me. Obviously, they're not going to talk to me now, and I don't want to fucking talk to you guys. Right? Like, enough is enough. We need to stop this. 32 seizures I took. 32. My kids, I lost them because I'm too sick. I can't take care of them anymore. My fiance left. Life ain't easy for me anymore. Right? I broke 10 bones in my ribs. I slipped and I fell in the shower when I was bent down when I lubed up the hair, you know. Bent down, lubed up the legs, and when I stood up I was dizzy, so that little slope in the back of the tub is now a slippery slide, and I slippery slid it on my ribs off the side of the tub. So I go to the doctors after I go to outpatients. The next day I go to the doctors. Fred, you got no brakes? You're broke. Your ribs ain't broke. I said, no. I'm like, come here and feel this and you tell me what you think. So I pushed here. Sure enough, they popped. He felt it. They just could be out of place. When do ribs fall out of place? Right? I requested a bone density scan when I got it. I have the pictures on my phone. I have 10 breaks. I have 2 breaks in 4 ribs and a break in 2 breaks in single ribs. So I made an appointment just to ask him, you know, what the results were. He said, you must have had 2 tiny fractures, enough for me to not see them. Like, come on, you look.
The technician who did the bone density test, let him take
Pictures.
of the screen.
She said there's no way in hell he could not have seen that. You know what he did? The very first picture on my 30 screen bone density scan showed 2 breaks. He looked at one goddamn picture and that was it. That was it. That's what they're doing. Dr. Andrew Waver, Northside General Hospital. Sydney Regional, same way. Like, it's unbelievable. I know a person that takes blood over there, and she said that the spike in the myocard, it's the brain fog. See, I can't say words I need. Say it for me, honey. There you go. So anyway, there's spikes in that. Elderly women, the oldest was 85, having their periods again. Yeah, lots of neurological issues. Lots of everything. They know. I was over there 7 times when the nurses were carting me to room. In passing, they would talk just to get info out of me, but you could tell they were concerned and trying to figure out what was going on, right? There's a lot more to this than what meets the eye. A lot more. My daughter just called me. You had to remind me. What is it? Yeah. Like I said, my kids, they live with their godmother and their half sister now because where I'm sick. So they decided to let her get vaccinated. She's 14 years old. She went and she got the first vaccine. This is without my consent. She went and got the first vaccine, sends me a picture that she's magnetic. I was magnetic, and I don't give a rat's ass what anybody says. I was magnetic, right? She got quarters stuck all over her forehead, quarters stuck all over here. Like, she just went and got the second vaccine today. She just called me. My phone's dead. I was going to try to get her set up so she could talk to you, but we're kind of late and running out of time. But she called me crying that her whole body's breaking out in rashes and her legs are starting to shake like daddy's were. That's my 14-year-old girl. There was that many people just in my little town that I know of that are vaccinated. The numbers they're giving us don't add up even close. Even close. You watch. 80% of those vials. I'm trying to be good. Trust me, I'm trying to be good. 80% of the vials at first were placebo shots. I called Moderna, asked them, are there placebo shots? They told me yes. I got it recorded. 80% of the first lots of vaccines were placebo shots. 15% were the real ones. The 80% acted as good candidates for the vaccine. The other 15% were the rare ones. Right? Your booster shots are the real deal, guys. Right? Go get your vaccine. I love every one of you. I'm going to do this until either I get better or I die. I promise I'm not going to stop. I made a vow. I took this personally. And I'm going to get answers. And we're going to do this. Justin Trudeau can suck my ass.